in a lot of spots. There's also a lot of options, difficulty modes, and nicely enough, it's got 4-player split screen racing too. Just like the good old days, every arcade style game should have this still, if you ask me. It's also got 8-player online races too, if you're looking for that. Plus, the developers are said to be adding free post-launch content, so this could be like a fun style arcade racer that feels super old school, but is continually kept fresh and updated. Now next at number 9, we have WRC 9. Before talking about 9, just also want to mention that WRC 8 FIA World Championship is newly on Steam this year after being exclusive, and that's also a really great offering. But WRC 9 takes it to the next level and was generally received pretty decently despite some technical issues. These games are like badass hardcore sims for serious rally racing fans, especially with the updated handling control mechanics. All the rallies are here and the historic vehicles, including 15 new landmark vehicles and plenty of racing options and esports support. It's all here. Not only that, visually, it looks really damn good too. So I'd say overall, if you're just itching for something hardcore like Dirt Rally, but like new this year, WRC 9 is a beast. Now over at number 8, we have a more unconventional racing game, but we're going to include it, damn it, because it's cool. It's SnowRunner. Yes, no, don't go away. Wait, where are you going? Yes, this is like a trucking simulator type of game, but it's one of the best ones. It's incredibly realistic and surprisingly fun and addictive. Yes, you're not necessarily racing on a race course, but a lot of times you're racing against time, resources, or the weather and the environment. And when playing with the physics and the environmental hazards and stuff like that, you really have to take into account and pay attention exactly how you're driving, your gear, your acceleration, the depth and tread of your tires, the environment itself, whether or not you're towing something, what type of truck you have, the weight, the equipment you can use to your disposal to get across something or to get out of something. It's way cooler than you'd expect. I was really blown away by this type of game. It's not usually my type of thing, but with Mud Runner and SnowRunner, you can't help but get hooked on this stuff. Because the actual gameplay and driving mechanics are so fun and engaging, it really makes up for the fact that you're kind of just delivering stuff. If you have some time and you're willing to deal with quite a bit of a learning curve, SnowRunner is no joke. We highly recommend it. Now over at number 7, for all our motorcycle-centric gamers out there, we have Ride 4. I feel like for motorcycle enthusiasts, this is essentially their Forza or Gran Turismo. It's a motorcycle nerd's dream. You get a ton of real-life bikes to choose from that have all been meticulously designed to represent their real-life counterparts, to the point of each asset actually being 3D scanned to make sure it's as close to perfect as it can be. This is something you don't see in these types of games for motorcycles. The customization has been expanded for not just your bike, but your rider as well. You can get you and your bike looking and performing exactly how you want with a ton of cosmetic and mechanical customization options. There's even a graphics editor where you can design your bike and rider designs and upload them for other players to see. There's also a dynamic day and night and weather cycle. You can see like players racing on a wet track, and not only does it look insanely stunning, but also it can be terrifying and challenging. The gameplay is pretty intense too, with a really good true sense of speed, especially if you're using the first-person helmet cam view. It's super intense, especially when you're making a really tight turn. There's some really cool stuff here that we think a lot of motorcycle enthusiasts will really enjoy. Now over at number 6, we have Art of Rally. You might be familiar with this dev team's last game, Absolute Drift. Yeah, it's them, and as you can tell by the title, this is all about rally racing, which means drifting, of course. Just like Absolute Drift, you're dealing with a top-down view as you race along these tracks, drifting through some really tight turns. The camera angle also works really well with the game's very simplistic, fun, and colorful art style. Seeing that you're going to be racing around the world, you're going to be seeing a ton of different environments, and each one looks really creative and beautiful. And with that camera angle, you get to see it all while you're cruising around. But this is a racing game, you care about how it controls, right? So thankfully, it does control pretty great. The dev team says there's authentic handling for beginner and expert drivers, and you can even use some real-world rally racing techniques. They're also touting 50-plus iconic rally cars, so if you're really a rally car nerd, this game is right up your alley. Yes, you might be into some more realistic rally games like WRC or Dirt Rally or something like that, but if you're in the mood for a change of pace or just something fresh to look at, Art of Rally might be worth checking out. It's unique, it's nice to look at, and it's just fun as hell. Now over at number 5, we have F1 2020. This is a racing game for very specific fans, of course, F1 racing fans. And these games are very much in the same vein as other sports games. It's a yearly released game with an updated roster and some fun new mechanics. And generally, so far, it seems like F1 2020 is another competent, good step forward for another Codemasters style racing game. For this year, there's really like a blowout on a career mode, stuff like that. You can create your own F1 team and down to creating a driver, then choosing a sponsor, choosing who makes your motor, picking your whole team, and then of course getting out there and racing. There's 22 circuits, including 2 new ones. There's a bunch of customization options, pretty graphics, online challenge modes, and generally just kind of what you'd expect from this release. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you've played an F1 game, you kind of know what you're getting. These games also get updated over time, so we're curious to see a lot of the bugs get worked out and see how players really, deal with the microtransaction stuff. But generally, F1 fan games, you get a new one this year. Surprise. Now over at number 4, we have a really cool indie racing game called Inertial Drift. Gotta say, we're really vibing with this vibe here. Sorry. It has a cool retro vibe, but one that we feel like we would have seen in the 90s, The 16 cars you have to choose from all look like really dope 90s Hot Wheels that we would have been really excited to play with and or try to swallow because we were all dumb kids here. But each car feels different and unique as well. The controls are actually what seems to be pretty unique to this game specifically. It's a twin stick game. The left stick controls the steering and the right stick gives you control over your drifting. So you can really dial in your drifting here and slide around like crazy. The game already looks pretty arcadey, so like the fun arcadey style controls really work out well here. Plus you get all that action, you get the tire marks, you get the smoke shooting out from your tires, all the cool effects. And then of course there's a single player mode with a few different types of races, time trials and one-on-one. You also get access to local and online multiplayer. We're big fans of couch multiplayer, like I said, so the fact that this is another one that has it with local, it's a big plus. Bottom line, Inertial Drift is just a cool arcadey racer with a really cool aesthetic and unique controls, so you should consider it. Now down to number 3, we have the newly announced remaster of the fan favorite Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Yes, we know, this is a big one. We're just as hyped as you guys are. This remaster is being worked on by Stellar Entertainment, the team that gave us the remaster of Burnout Paradise, which turned out pretty good. EA is really giving us something neat here. On current gen consoles and PC, it's going to be capable of 4K, and on Switch, you're going to obviously be at 1080p 30 frames per second docked. But overall, wherever you're playing it, you're getting a lot of visual upgrades. Things look sharper, things look nicer, and it's also going to include all of the big DLC packs along with some new customization options. Probably one of the cooler new additions to this remaster is the full cross-platform support. We love seeing this make its way into newer releases and love it just as much when it's added into a new remaster of a game that's already been released. So we're pretty hyped to not only play Need for Speed Hot Pursuit again, but also to have it feel a little different and a little more interesting. Now down to number 2, we have Dirt 5 releasing towards the end of the year. This is going to be one of the new next-gen console racers, and there's definitely a lot to be desired on the visual front. I think a lot of that is kind of up for debate, but so far from what we've seen from a raw gameplay standpoint, this just looks like a really great, fun Dirt game. Whereas Dirt Rally goes hardcore and realistic, the mainline Dirt games have a little bit more fun with everything, and you can tell just by the content offerings that this game is going to have, they're going overboard on the fun factor here. There's a dynamic weather system and seasons, which clearly definitely affect the racing. There's like ice racing, there's snow, there's a cool New York and Scandinavia levels. Then of course there's the hotter regular style racing in Arizona, Brazil, Morocco, all that stuff. There's going to be car customization, there's going to be a full career mode and a bunch of options to play online, and just really the typical racing game type of stuff. But there's something about the way the Dirt games control that just makes it so much fun for drifting and sliding and just high speed crazy rally racing and super wild turns and stuff like that. We're really excited to get our hands on this one, especially on like a good PC and the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Now down to number 1, we have Gran Turismo 7. You can't have a new PlayStation console without a new GT, right? I mean, Sony seems to be aware of that as well, because they went ahead and announced Gran Turismo 7. Besides the 3.5 minute long trailer, we don't have too much to go on here, but there are some things that we do know. First thing, it looks really good graphically, which there's no surprise there. There's also some car customization, which was expected. We also know that it will be using ray tracing and is also targeting 4K and 60 FPS. We just want to put some emphasis on the phrase targeting because that is specifically what it says on their website, so it's not confirmed that the game will